is Mark Gunn Media.
Hit it!
Welcome to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. I'm your host, Mark Gunn. The views expressed on this program are those of the host and guests and not necessarily reflective of anyone or any entity associated with this broadcast. This episode brought to you by Before Your First Gig, an audiobook written by Steve Dustcircle and produced by Mark Gunn Media. If you're a beginning musician, this is a primer that you'll definitely want to hear. Tips and strategies for setting yourself up for live performances and paid gigs. Before Your First Gig by Steve Dustcircle. Available now on iTunes, Audible.com, and Amazon. Before Your First Gig by Steve Dustcircle. Produced by Mark Gunn Media. This episode, Random Thoughts of Awesomeness, Volume 2. Several things going on that I want to touch on this episode. Some are sublime and most are ridiculous. We can't kick things off without talking about R. Kelly. Oh, man. By now, I'm sure you've seen that interview he did with Gayle King on CBS, right? Where the indicted child molester acted a damn donkey during the broadcast.
I didn't do this stuff. This is not me, y'all. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career.
Robert.
30 years of my career. Y'all trying to kill me. You're killing me, man. This is not about music. I'm trying to have a relationship with my kids, and I can't do it. Y'all just don't want to believe the truth. You don't want to believe it.
Now, what you may have not seen was the brilliant spoof done on Saturday Night Live the following weekend.
Why would I do that? That would be stupid. How stupid would it be for me, R. Kelly, with all the crazy illegal things that I've done in my past, on tape, and gotten away with, scot-free, to do it again? How stupid do you think I am? Is this the camera?
No. That's the plan.
Okay, guys, think for a minute. Use your brains. Why would I do these things? For 30 years. I gave y'all Trapped in the Closet, Feeling on Your Boutique, Robert. Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, Robert. And so many other clues.
Now, we all know that there's supposed to be a presumption of innocence, right? But come on, man. R. Kelly's been doing this crap way back, decades. He even got away with it back in the day, in part because some of us, as black people, had this misguided notion that the system was trying to bring another brother down. Hell, even the lawyer that got him off the first time said that he was guilty. Which begs the question, why did Jive Records only recently decide to drop him from the label, knowing that this had been an ongoing problem? The hypocrisy is mind-blowing. Speaking of mind-blowing, who was the idiot that paid over $160,000 to get him out of jail? Bottom line is this. Guilty or not, Robert Kelly put his dumb ass in a position to be compromised. Why is a 50-something-year-old man surrounding himself with teenage girls? Hey, Robert, when you get to the big house, hey, homie, don't drop the soap. Speaking of teenage girls and boys and kids in general, here in Kentucky, there's an ongoing battle between school teachers and Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin.
There were enough people here that felt like they needed to do something to make an impact today, to show legislators that we are united when it counts. And this is something that we get as public education advocates. We get very little. Our pension is our nest egg. We don't get Social Security. We don't get paid a lot, but we get a pension. And when they mess with your pension, they're messing with the livelihoods of teachers everywhere.
Teachers have been calling in sick and taking their protests to the State House.
Hi, this is Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin. I want to speak briefly to something that has been very topical, and that is the idea of pretending to be sick when you're not sick, and doing this at the expense of the very students that public education is intended to serve. This is about the students, and it should be about the students, not about what's in the best interest of the KEA or any of these other groups that want to attract attention and resources and power to themselves. This is about the teachers themselves and their ability to do the job of educating kids.
Now, here's my take on the whole situation. America's teachers, the good ones anyway, are obscenely underpaid because this country, for all its star-spangled awesomeness, puts such a low value on education. If that wasn't the case, America would be getting its ass handed to it by 14 other countries, and Kentucky wouldn't be ranked as low as it is as far as education goes. Public education is a sick and twisted joke. Has been for years. You force teachers to come out of their pockets for supplies, give them inferior textbooks that propagate the great white American lie, America's sick, twisted version of history, and you have the nerve to wonder why kids are still unprepared for life after school. Teachers share some of the blame as well. Some of you are criminally ill-prepared to deal with the various learning styles and cultural differences of your students. How many of you are burned out or hanging around just for a paycheck? How many stories have you seen recently about a teacher having a black child disciplined or arrested for something that a white child would simply be sent to timeout for?
They put their hands on our baby. The same thing you see on the news all across America came to our living room.
Brian Cheney was up in arms after his son came home with some disturbing news. He says his son, 11-year-old Stone Cheney, told him a teacher got mad after he wouldn't stand for the pledge.
He said during the pledge, a teacher just snatched me out of my chair. And I said, snatch you out of your chair? And I said, what did she say? He said, Dad, she didn't say anything.
Stone says it happened last Thursday while he was in homeroom.
Everybody was like snickering after it happened, so I just kind of put my head down and continued class.
The next day, Brian says another teacher called him out for not standing.
Screaming and yelling at him during the pledge, telling him to get up. Do you have written permission to be seated? Why are you sitting? He explained to her why he was sitting. He told her he doesn't pledge to a flag. He pledges to God and his family.
Stone says he's been sitting for the pledge since second grade after his father explained why he had a choice. They've never had an issue until now.
All the people who go out and fight for us, they fight for freedom either way. So I could stand or sit whether I like or not.
Brian addressed the school board this week.
For him to be violently snatched out of his chair by a lady, and then him to tell her that he doesn't stand and her to just glare at him, is wrong. It's a violation of his civil rights.
The district says they're investigating the allegations.
We respect the rights of any individual to make personal choices around issues of faith and belief. So we're disappointed that we're even having a conversation.
Bottom line is that until this country completely overhauls its educational system, our kids will continue to be shortchanged. In Finland, teachers are required to have a master's degree in education before being allowed to enter a classroom. In other countries, schools live and die by the overall achievement of their students. A school can be completely shut down if outcomes aren't at acceptable levels. No teaching to a standardized test, no cram sessions for SATs. Kids actually learning and demonstrating practical applications of that education. So while you're protesting at the Kentucky State House, what are you doing about that bottle blonde bobblehead, Betsy DeVos, the so-called Secretary of Education? Speaking of education, one of the areas that mainstream media is seriously lacking is in its ability to tell our stories in a positive light. Because of what you've been led to believe about black and brown kids, you scoff in disbelief when they truly achieve something special.
Lamar senior Michael Brown learning he got into Stanford University.
I was certainly nervous.
This was a dream he's worked towards for years, and growing up in the economically challenged Third Ward, it's a dream that some may think was just out of his reach.
Stanford, Harvard, Yale.
But here's the thing.
Georgetown, Northwestern.
He got into every school he applied to, including 4 Ivy Leagues.
I got into all 20, which was, for me, amazing.
The average GPA to get into Harvard is 4.10, Yale 4.19, Princeton 3.90, Michael's 4.68. Michael has full rides to every single school, plus $260,000 he's earned in scholarships.
Be hopeful, dream big, don't be afraid.
But to Michael, this isn't just an accomplishment. He hopes it serves as motivation to other kids in the Third Ward, or wherever they may be.
Be proud of your family, of yourself, of your community, and then share your story. Inspire other people to really reach for the stars.
And this is where some in the media make me really want to punch people in the throat.
It has sparked the discussion, though, of how many schools you should apply to. It's a little ridiculous that this kid applied to 20, taking away a spot and basically waitlisting another kid.
Yeah, well, most people won't agree with me, but I actually think it's ridiculous to apply to 20 schools. I do.
I am urging my children not to.
Yeah. He could have applied to 5. He would have gotten in all 5. It would have been equally as impressive. 10 would have been impressive. And you can Google as many articles as you want. Admissions officers will say on average you should apply to 4 to 8 schools, right?
So do you think this is a little obnoxious?
I think it's a little obnoxious because you can only go to one. Right. You can only take one full ride, and you are taking a spot from someone else.
So while these idiots are whining, they're looking past their own that just got caught trying to scam their kids' way into college.
The Justice Department is calling the largest college admissions scam they have ever prosecuted. Dozens of actors, coaches, and CEOs are among those charged. They stand accused of paying millions in bribes to get their kids into elite schools and paying people to cheat on the SATs for their children. 2 of the more recognizable names on the indictment are actresses Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin. Huffman starred on ABC's Desperate Housewives, and Loughlin is best known for her role on Full House. The schools named in this indictment include Georgetown, Stanford, UCLA, the University of San Diego, the University of Southern California, the University of Texas, Wake Forest, and Yale. Here's a bit of what the Massachusetts U.S. Attorney said about the case.
For every student admitted through fraud, an honest, genuinely talented student was rejected. The parents charged today, despite already being able to give their children every legitimate advantage in the college admissions game, instead chose to corrupt and illegally manipulate the system for their benefit. We're not talking about donating a building so that a school's more likely to take your son or daughter. We're talking about deception and fraud, fake test scores, fake athletic credentials, fake photographs, bribed college officials.
So the last thing I want to hear from anybody is that they only got in because of affirmative action crap. You want to talk about crap? Get this. The Commonwealth of Kentucky has just done something that'll put the lives of more people in danger than ever before.
Senate Bill 150 allows concealed carry without a permit. It's now passed the House and the Senate. A bill sponsor, Senator Brandon Smith, says it would allow concealed carry without a license for people 21 and over. Smith says those with a criminal record would still be subject to current rules, and it won't change where people can bring guns. Some criticized it, saying it would jeopardize public safety. Adding training requirements previously needed to get a permit would be dropped. Some proponents say any attempt to amend the bill would be an infringement on the Second Amendment. Both sides disagreed on whether the bill would be helpful to victims of domestic violence as well as police officers.
First thing I did is I pulled my license out of my car, out of my wallet, put it up there, made sure my hands were visible and stuff like that, and the police officer approached me and I said, I have a concealed weapon. And made sure that he knew what was going on, so not only for my safety, but his safety as well.
I believe this will strengthen law enforcement's ability to approach individuals and do a Terry stop where they can frisk and check for their safety. So it can actually be a tool of benefit.
The Kentucky State Fraternal Order of Police has released a statement saying it is opposed to Senate Bill 150. The law enforcement group says that it's concerned about deadly unintended consequences.
What this means is that any idiot with a handgun can walk around with it concealed while not having to get trained or licensed. Once again, Matt Bevin and the Kentucky State Legislature are on their knees sucking off the NRA. This means that more police officers are in the line of fire, and in the case of poorly trained ones, law-abiding CCDW holders like Philando Castile end up dead.
Sir, good. How are you? Good. Reason I put you over, your brake lights are out, so you only have one active brake light, and that's going to be your passenger side one. Your third brake light, which is up here on top, and then this one back here, is going to be out. You have your license and insurance?
I have to tell you, I do have a firearm on me.
Don't reach for it then. Don't pull it out.
I'm happy to pull it out.
Don't pull it out.
You just killed my boy. He wasn't reaching.
Don't pull it out.
I wasn't.
Don't move.
Stay with me. We got pulled over for a busted tail light in the back. And the police he's covered. They killed my boyfriend. He's licensed. He's licensed to carry. He was trying to get out his ID and his wallet out his pocket, and he let the officer know that he had a firearm and he was reaching for his wallet, and the officer just shot him in his arm. Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead. Please don't tell me my boyfriend just went like that.
Keep your hands where they are, please.
Yes, I will, sir. I'll keep my hands where they are.
Personally, I've had the training from ICCDW, and it was the best $125 I ever spent. I learned the laws as they relate to weapons in Kentucky. The knowledge I already had about guns was supplemented by showing me how to do the most basic things in a more effective manner, and the practical firing exercises weeded out the good shots from the bad ones. I also had the benefit of having an instructor who actually trains police officers. By the way, I scored 20 out of 20 hits on the firing range. We've got knuckleheads whose only knowledge about guns comes from what they've seen in movies, TV, and in video games. I don't often side with police about a whole lot of things, but on this, we can't agree. Second Amendment be damned. Concealed carry without the proper training and licensing is a very bad idea. Coming up, movies, music, and mind food. Check out some of the stuff that I'm vibing to right after this. If you're an advertiser, one of the most important things about getting your message out is actually standing out from the rest of the crowd. If you're listening to this program right now, this is where you'd hear your commercial. As an exclusive sponsor of Gunshots Straight from the Hip, your commercial is professionally produced and gets a longer shelf life based on your needs. Gunshots Straight from the Hip is a unique and compelling program unlike anything else in the marketplace. Episodes are available for download on iTunes, TuneIn, and MarkGunMedia.com. And depending on how you tailor your message, the potential for new and repeat customers is that much greater. Best of all, it's extremely cost-effective. If you'd like more information on how you can be a sponsor of this broadcast, call Mark Gun Media Inc. at 502-407-0283. That's 502-407-0283. Or log on to markgunmedia.com. For downloads of this and past episodes and information about all the multimedia services we offer, log on to our website at www.markgunmedia.com. That's markgunmedia.com. Welcome back to Gunshots Straight from the Hip, Random Thoughts of Awesomeness, Volume 2. One of the things I wanted to start doing was to turn you on to some of the new media that I'm vibing to. New music, some old school that you may have slept on, books, movies, and television. Hopefully you'll take the time to check it all out. One of the more recent projects that I've been really getting into is the new album from Austin, Texas guitarist Gary Clark Jr. This Land, the title track, takes two of my favorite musical elements and presents an unapologetic, rage-filled, rock-out middle finger to racism in the age of Trump.
I remember when you used to tell me, nigga run, go back where you come from. Nigga run, go back where you come from. We don't want your kind. We think you's a dog bomb. Fuck you, I'm America's son. This is where I come from. This land is mine. This land is mine.
Clark is a throwback to Hendrix as he presents a rich tapestry of very tasteful guitar work and a musical landscape with enough touches of rock, blues, and even hip-hop to make the album a satisfying listening experience. If you're not into a whole lot of guitar, no worries. There's enough here lyrically for you to be fully engaged. When it comes to things literary, I'm a huge fan of audiobooks and have a voracious appetite for them. Right now, there are two that I'm listening to. One is by former Republican strategist Rick Wilson. It's called Everything Trump Touches Dies. Now, why would I, who's on record as having absolutely no regard for the GOP, take the time to check this book out? Well, this might give you an idea.
I looked at the Donald Trump from the very beginning as an existential threat to the Republican Party that represented the old school conservative values of limited government, rule of law, adherence to the Constitution, a balanced government between three co-equal branches. And I saw him as something that was going to be inordinately destructive to conservatism. And the short-term, own the libs sort of American Republican id that he appeals to has locked down what was the Republican Party. And I wrote this as kind of a warning to folks who have, every time they enter his orbit, their lives turn to something they didn't expect. Mm-hmm. And there's this long train of bodies and policies that Donald Trump has left on the ground because of the way he is and because of who he is as a person. And I think that scales down from, if you go to work for him, your life turns into a living hell. Mm-hmm. Your reputation is shot.
Wilson is as brilliant and brutal in his writing about the Trump administration and how it's bastardized the Republican Party. The other book I'm actually taking a second listen to is by one of my all-time favorite guitarists and musical heroes. You may not know the name Steve Lukather, but I'm willing to bet that if you went through your music collection, you'd find at least 10 albums that he's played on. The Gospel According to Luke is the autobiography of the lead guitarist from the band Toto, and one of the most prolific musicians of the last 50 years.
Well, it was a very difficult process to put this book together, for the simple fact is that I have played on like thousands of records, and I spent 2 years working on this, telling stories from my whole life, from the childhood to this. I mean, at one point the book was 700 pages and had to be edited down to like 300 something. So some of my childhood friends and things that I wanted to talk about, or other people that I worked with, didn't make the cut, and that cut was not 100% mine. As far as me telling my story, it was difficult because there's so much to it. And, I told it as honestly as I could, and they picked out some of the records that they thought were strong enough, and I told my stories. I told about my childhood and some of the people I grew up with that turned out to be famous musicians or actors or whatever. And that's how it ends up, and some of the darkness of my life. I wanted to be honest about it. I didn't want to, more than throwing people under the bus that deserve to be thrown under the bus, I took the high road for the most part. There's a few people that get a nudge, but they deserve that. So I tried to be cool, and I had to avoid lawsuits. And that's a very important thing in my life. I'm sick of lawsuits, all right?
This is a fun listen for me personally because I have firsthand knowledge of some of the things that he's talking about. I found myself laughing out loud a few times. So if you're a fan of the band, you'll get a kick out of it too. Luke is very funny and rather introspective at times. It's the kind of inside baseball look at rock and roll that's very rarely seen. Finally, anyone that knows me knows of my passion for the world of professional wrestling, or as it's called these days, sports entertainment. I've been what the business calls a mark ever since I was a kid, and my time in radio gave me the opportunity to work with quite a few superstars from the various wrestling organizations. I've especially enjoyed my interactions with the men and women of World Wrestling Entertainment, who to this day still show me a lot of love when the opportunity presents itself. The men and women that perform in the squared circle are among the finest athletes on the planet. Yeah, I know. It's all scripted and the storylines have been written months in advance, but there are times when real life has a way of putting everything into perspective. For example, one of their top performers, a character named Roman Reigns, made an announcement back in October of last year that changed the entire landscape of WWE.
I feel like I owe everybody an apology. For months, maybe even a full year, I've come out here and spoke as Roman Reigns, and I said a lot of things. I said that I'd be here every single week. I said I'd be a fighting champion. I said I was going to be consistent, and I said I was going to be a workhorse, but that's all lies. It's a lie because the reality is my real name is Joe, and I've been living with leukemia for 11 years. And unfortunately, it's back. And because the leukemia is back, I cannot fulfill my role. I can't be that fighting champion. And I'm going to have to relinquish the Universal Championship. And I'm not going to lie, I'll take every prayer you can send my way, but I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm not looking for you to feel bad for me. Because I have faith. When I was 22 years old, I was diagnosed with this. And very quickly, I was able to put it in remission. But I'm not going to lie, that was the hardest time of my life. I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money. I didn't have a home. And I had a baby on the way. and football was done with me. But you want to know who gave me a chance? The team that gave me a chance was the WWE. And when I finally made it to the main roster and I was on the road, they put me in front of all of you, the WWE Universe, and to be honest, y'all have made my dreams come true. But I want to make one thing clear, by no means is this a retirement speech. Because after I'm done whooping leukemia's ass once again, I'm coming back home. And when I do, it's not gonna just be about titles and being on top. No, it's about a purpose. I am coming back because I want to show all of you, the whole world, I want to show my family, my friends, my children, and my wife that when life throws a curveball at me, I am the type of man that will stand in that batter's box. I will crowd the plate, I will choke up, and I will swing for the fences every single time. Because I will beat this, and I will be back, so you will see me very, very soon.
You may not know the name, but chances are you do know his cousin, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. One of the things I've always respected about World Wrestling Entertainment is that even though it's a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange, there's a real family feel to how everyone treats each other. Behind the scenes, the support given to Reigns after his announcement was par for the course. That same support was shown in the ring as well.
My thoughts and my prayers are with the champion of a man you know as Roman Reigns. It is humbling to be amongst the members of that locker room tonight and to have been in the presence of such courage and such greatness. And when I go home tonight and I have to explain this all to my children, what I want my children to understand about this show, this presentation, this business, this industry that we all love is what you witnessed tonight. As much as you witnessed that courage, was what you witnessed was sacrifice. Because what Roman Reigns did tonight was he sacrificed his career aspirations because he, as he said, he couldn't fulfill the obligations of being the Universal Champion, because to everyone that walks through that locker room, the title deserves the best any champion has to offer it. And until 8:05 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, we had the right to brag that the very best, the number one, was the Universal Champion.
WWE did a great job at keeping his audience updated on Reigns' progress, and with his blessing, briefly incorporated his illness into a storyline. Fast forward 4 months later, Monday night, February 25th, where once again, real life took over the WWE Universe.
I miss y'all. I'm serious, I missed y'all. There is no other job like this. There's no other fan base like you guys. And I've said this before, I'm a man of faith. I've always believed in God. I've always believed that he's favored me and looked out for me. But I'm not gonna lie, before my announcement in October, I was terrified, y'all. I was scared to tell everybody because I didn't know how you would react. By the time I got home, the outreach, between people texting me, calling me, tweeting me, Instagramming me, Facebooking me, if there was a way to get to me, y'all figured out how to do it. And that overwhelming support that you gave me, it gave me strength. It gave me new life. It gave me a new opportunity, and it gave me a new purpose. You see, here in WWE, I'm gonna use this platform, this giant WWE platform that is global and the whole world can see it. I'm gonna use it to raise awareness, and I'm gonna use it to support those who are in need just like I was. Should we get to the update? The good news is I'm in remission, y'all. So with that being said, the big dog is back!
At the end of the day, doesn't matter if you're a casual fan or not a fan at all. Cancer touches all of us in some way, shape, or form, and stories like this only serve to give everybody dealing with it hope. And yeah, I'll be watching WrestleMania 2. You got a problem with that? You've been listening to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. The views expressed are those of the host and guests and not reflective of any business entity or anyone associated with this broadcast. If you have any comments or want more information on how to be a sponsor, log on to our website at markgunmedia.com or call us at 502-407-0283. That's 502-407-0283. Thank you for listening.
Mark Gun Media. No hype, no hoopla, just damn good work.